happening to our country. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
No. What do you mean? Jasmine not going to Congress for Texas? Oh, Crocket. A girl can only dream. Listen, Jasmine, what was that one quote that you said? Anything. Oh, yeah. We done picking cotton. You can't pay us enough to go find a plantation. Yeah, you remember that. I remember that. How could I forget? See, 6.5 million Hispanic voters in Texas, which is like the majority of the electoral vote here in the state. And you mean to tell me that you think that we're still picking cotton? Hell no, girl. Hell, and that's why you lost.
When you hear people say there's a literacy crisis, this is what they mean.
So I want to just make sure that I have this correct, right? Is that Latinos, Hispanics, Latinx in Texas is trying to make it seem like Jasmine Crockett was being derogatory towards them when she mentioned cotton. We're just going to totally bypass the whole fact that literally black people were the ones that were picking cotton in this country, right? Okay. But more than that, like, y'all got so much smoke for a black lady that wasn't even talking bad about y'all. Y'all voted for somebody who specifically said that they hated y'all. Like, y'all voted for Donald Trump, who literally said very derogatory things about you. Said that you were criminals, said that you raped people, said that you needed to be put out of the country. But yet you got more hostility for Jasmine Crockett. So you don't vote for Jasmine because you think she said something negative about you. But the man that's literally been spewing hatred about you for years, y'all make a song about him. Y'all racism is crazy.
This morning I cried into my husband's arms because I fully believed that people don't give a shit about black women. They never would. They never will. And even as far as like doctors, nurses, it's scary to be a black woman. It's scary to be a smart black woman, you know, in Texas. I woke up scared. I cried hard. And then I sat down with my feelings. And then I sent a message to the people who are still in my Discord, just telling them to, you know, don't feel hopeless. We did our part. We told people to get out there. We told people to vote. We told people to please trust someone other than what we've been trying. You know what I mean? I told them to, you know, feel your feelings, but don't forget to get back up and keep moving, okay? I told them that there's beauty out there. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've even sent beauty out there. You know what I mean? Beauty is out there. Not everyone hates you. I promise you, not everybody hates you, even though it feels like it. No one hates you, okay? Tell your black lady friends that you love them today. Hell, tell all your black friends that you love them today. I sure needed to hear it.
After Jasmine Crockett lost this election to Tellerico, black Americans are convinced that there's nothing like black and brown unity and they have no allies, because for years, black Americans have been told that minorities must stand together politically and that solidarity between black, Latino, and Asian communities is a path to political power. But the question is, can there really be unity without accountability? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's continue watching the clips I prepared for you. Credit goes to the original creators, all right? Let's dive into it.
Texas's mayor election results are in, and the Democratic candidate Jasmine Crockett was defeated. Jasmine Crockett lost. She will not be Texas's newest mayor. And before I came to you all with my commentary, because you knew it was coming, I was waiting on a particular piece of information to present itself, and now it's here. And now I can tell you all how I really feel. This is what I was waiting for. This right here. This information, the numbers, the statistics, I needed to see it. Because I remember after the 2024 elections that these group of people swearing up and down that they were going to stand alongside black people. These same racial demographics swearing up and down that they now understood the grave error that they made when they voted for this man who now has America at war with Iran into office. I remember the performative bracelets, the blue bracelets, right? All of those fake little protests that died out really early. Them swearing that they were no longer going to vote against the interests of human in favor of their own. Yet, overwhelmingly, they voted for the Republican candidate. They voted red. Again. 93% of Black voters voted for Crocket. And because of that, she almost won. From that alone, she almost won. But then you have 70%, right, of white people who voted for Talarico. Okay, they're white. They're going to do that anyway, right? 62% of Latinos voted for Talarico. Even after the red side literally has been endorsing and supporting these mass deportations that have been attacking Latino and Hispanic communities, they still went and voted for him. They still went and voted for him. Majority of them went and voted for him, right? Then you have 71 more than white people for the Asians that voted for Talarico, right? But just a couple of months ago, all of the Asians were on social media in an uproar because of the racism that they were experiencing at the hand of white people, right? And they went and they voted red.
The fact that Plies got on here and asked if the Latino community aligns more with Black people or white people, if you got to ask that question, then the answer is no, and neither have they ever. They have never aligned with us. I don't know who started this black and brown stuff. If you look at their voting, the way they vote, right? They're always going to be more in line with a white savior. But when you have the Black person that's thinking about everybody, because that's what Black people always do. We thinking about everybody. We don't ever think about ourselves. Want to be thinking about everybody and advocating for everybody and speaking up for everybody. They deny it. I don't know what is up with y'all in this black and brown stuff. These people say the N-word. What's up, ma? They get a pass. When it's time to vote, they show you know what I'm saying? Bars. Anyway, Ply should have never had to ask this question. He knows that they don't. They never did.
I used to fuck heavy with Jasmine Crockett until she said what she said about immigrants.
We done picking cotton. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Some people will say, well, you took that out of context. Well, let me fill in the context for you. She was talking about immigrants and the work that immigrants contribute to the United States. She talks about farming and she says, I know none of y'all are trying to farm. I know. And then she says, we're done picking cotton, as if it's now our turn. What do you mean they can't pay you enough? Are you saying that immigrants aren't being exploited? That they'll just accept whatever it takes? Are you saying it's okay to exploit another community as long as it's not yours? And the crazy thing is that Texas has, there are so many Latinos in Texas. How are you going to be both a Zionist and anti-immigrant? And I saw someone say that they're disappointed again in the Mexican community. And this time I was like, look, with Kamala, fair. With this, come on. And it's unfortunate because Jasmine Crockett is more educated than that. We know this.
A literacy crisis literally means that people are illiterate. And that doesn't mean that they can't read, so they make some meaning. But it's very surface level. The higher order thinking skills that are needed for critical thinking, making inferences, drawing conclusions, they don't have them. This lady actually thought, and she's not an anomaly, that when Jasmine Crockett said, "We're not picking cotton no more," that she was talking about the Latinx population picking cotton. If you are illiterate, you took that statement very literal. Trump and the rest of his regime won this election because people were illiterate. And they are making doubly sure that folks stay that way. We're not picking cotton no more. Making inferences, which means you would need to be familiar and knowledgeable of that reference and what she actually meant. She absolutely knows folks ain't picking cotton that way. The statement meant that we won't be your slaves anymore to, you know what, never mind. Never mind. There is a literacy crisis and a push to make sure people stay illiterate. All right, good people.
And I don't want to hear anybody else calling out black people, specifically black women, when it comes to the things happening in this country. And what's crazy about all of this is that when it was time to show up in solidarity around the Bad Bunny Bowl, we did it. We were engaged. We took the time to educate. We didn't center ourselves and our experiences. We vibed out because we're cool with not being centered 24/7. We can appreciate and respect the latter. But when it came to expecting that back, the numbers show that the interest wasn't there. And so, with that being said, no. Because we've been screaming in lieu of ICE and all the things going on, step up, help out. We did. We ran for Senate. And y'all said, help us, but not like that. 10-4.
What we're not going to do is ignore the blatant racism and misogyny that's impacting black women like Jasmine Crockett. I said it from day one, that when she announced her Senate race, that there were going to be racist attacks and misogynistic attacks sent her way. And this is impacting other black women creators as well. And it's important that we go ahead and name this because it is a reality in our country. We don't live in a post-racial society. We don't live in a space where we can just ignore racism, where we can just ignore misogyny, because it's all around us. And it's important that we also recognize that that is a reality. And it's important that people like myself, who are not black women, also amplify the voices of black women, and in particular name that these things are still issues, that the systemic barriers that still impact people like Jasmine Crockett, who is educated, experienced, still play a role today. Why is it that her hair, her eyelashes, her way of speaking is being brought up? But when compared to her white male counterparts, that is not even a conversation. And I know some people will be out there saying this isn't about race, this isn't about being a woman. But the reality is that if you look at most facets of our life, and not all, women are disproportionately held to a different account. And it is time that we, men, also use our voices and our platforms to talk about this. And this is with Jasmine Crockett having the political experience, the community and coalition building experience, her education, and all of the things that she already has under her tool belt. And yet she is still held to a different account. And why? Because of racism and misogyny. And we just have to be real about that. So let's address it. Let's make sure that it's actually being dealt with, and let's contribute to building a society in which this doesn't have to be an issue anymore.
The loss of Jasmine Crockett in the Democratic primary to James Tallarico has sparked a conversation that has been simmering beneath the surface for years, and that conversation is about expectations, because for decades in the American politics, black voters, especially black women, have been described as the most loyal voting bloc in the Democratic Party. They consistently show up, they consistently vote, and many times they vote not just for themselves, but for broader coalitions. But moments like these raise an uncomfortable question. Is loyalty always reciprocated? When immigration rates hit Latino communities, when policies affect undocumented families, when fear spreads across immigrant neighborhoods, many activists call on Black Americans to show solidarity, and historically, many Black leaders and communities have done exactly that. They have marched, they have advocated, and they have spoken out. But critics now argue that when the moment comes to show similar support for Black candidates, that solidarity doesn't always appear in the same way. Elections are complicated, and people vote for many reasons, one being ideology, personality, campaign strategy, and electability. And in this race, analysts say that Tallarico simply ran a stronger statewide campaign and built a broader coalition across Texas. So this conversation isn't just about race, it's about perception. Because perception shapes political trust. If one community begins to feel like solidarity is only requested when others need help, but not returned, when Black candidates or Black causes are involved, then that sense of coalition begins to crack. And once that trust cracks, rebuilding it becomes very difficult. Another uncomfortable discussion is about anti-Blackness within minority communities. Unity cannot exist if certain issues are never acknowledged. Real unity requires mutual respect, accountability, and it requires community to show up for each other, even when it's not politically convenient. Some Latino voters, Asian voters, and other groups don't always see their political interest aligning with Black political leadership. But if coalitions must be built, they must be maintained and nurtured over time, and they require genuine partnership. Unity is possible and it's intentional, but it cannot be demanded from one group while optional for another. It cannot be emotional during crisis, but absent during elections, because political solidarity is ultimately not measured by words, but by actions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.